know the world is going crazy, but I can see you having my baby. Let's get away. Let's get away, mystery lady. I know the world is going crazy, but I can see you having my baby. Let's get away. Let's get away, mystery lady. I know the world is going crazy, but I can see you having my baby. Let's get away. Let's get away, mystery lady. I know the world is going crazy, but I can see you having my baby. Let's get away.
Okay.
Way, mystery lady. I know the world is going crazy. I can see you having my baby. Let's get away. Let's get away, mystery lady. I know the world is going crazy.
Jamil, I remember in 2006 when you decided to go to Atlanta. I wasn't really excited about you going, but I saw that you were determined to go. Because when you were on your way, the car broke down, and you got out of your car and got into your cousin's car and had your car towed back home and kept going to Atlanta. And then from there, I just saw how you began to bloom. And you had your ups, you had your downs. And even though I was here and you were there, I was still just a phone call away. And we talked every day. It's just been exciting to see how you've grown, how you've changed your way of thinking, how you've enlightened me in your journey, how you've shared so much knowledge, and you've taught me so much. You've taught me how to think for myself. You've taught me how to investigate for myself and seek out the truth. And that's something that I never did before. And I'm really grateful for that. It has taken a lot of courage for you to do the things you've done. You have made me proud. I'm excited for you. I love you. I admire you. You encourage me to pursue the best me that I can possibly be. In all that I do, I share with you. And I'm grateful for that, and I love you.
Mystery lady, I know the world is going crazy. I can see you having my baby. Let's get away. Let's get away, mystery lady. I know the world is going crazy. Introducing myself to everybody. How y'all doing? How y'all doing? How y'all doing, everybody? Thank y'all for joining in to the Audacity Show with Jamil Harley. Tonight we got a really powerful special guest. I'm so happy that I finally got a hold of her. Oh man, I want everybody to stand to your feet, put your cell phones down, and salute the salute the camera phones, salute the camera, and welcome in Miss Neith Knight of the Blackest Truth. Everybody. Man, it's like I got Angela Bassett, Holly Berry, I got everybody all in one right now. How you doing, Neith? How you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
I am doing fabulous. A little nervous, but fabulous. Oh man, your show is amazing. It's you got all the bells and whistles. Like you got stuff popping up. You're telling the truth, and it's like I'm like, this is a full production here. How long have you been doing the show?
So much.
How long have you been doing your show?
Interesting. Since 2015. I started in 2015 by accident. Really.
How accident? He was like, I got something to say.
Really? No, I was one of those people that was just playing on their phone, putting up Facebook videos, expressing my frustration, rather, talking to my 600, 800 friends on Facebook. And what ended up happening was I made a video titled The Origins of Racism. And I put it out. And I mean, it was not even more than 5 minutes long. It was pixelated. I made an error, didn't even know how to edit it out. So I was just like, yeah, I'm just going to post it. And I just kept doing it. At the time I was majoring in biology, so I kept putting out videos about different things that I was learning in class and then just paralleling them to the Black experience. And one day I go to work and we can't have our cell phones on us while we're at work. So I come out that morning around 6 o'clock and I check my phone and like it's just like all of these notifications, just like everybody just blowing me up, like, oh my God, you're on World Star. And at the time, World Star was like the shade room right now.
Wow.
So, yeah, that's really what happened.
That's amazing. Just bloop, you just bloop, 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 bloop. Man, that's dope.
And it was interesting because obviously I was, like I said, I was majoring in biology. I had always just been one of those Black people that were passionate about, us and our community. You got those Black people that you find and you just kind of, they love our people. I was one of them.
Right.
I was one of them in everyday life. So when the video went viral, it was really by accident. And I just always am so grateful to the ancestors because it's just like, it showed me that, all I had to do was follow my passions and be honest and be truthful. And, a window would be made.
Mm-hmm. And what you just said is kind of funny how, not funny, I don't even know the word I need to find a word to put in when I want to break down something like this, but how we make fun of those of us that are for our people. Like we're not supposed to be for a people that have been oppressed, that are at a constant, from generation to generation, trying to come up out of this hole. Like I've heard that my whole life. Why is it always the light-skinned ones always trying to be pro-Black? Why aren't you trying to be pro-Black is the question. You know what I mean?
You should be more frustrated.
So biology. So you're basically a scientist.
Yeah, in so many ways. I don't really like to just call myself a scientist because in the science field, like who we are, it's just kind of like, how many degrees do you have? How many papers have you published? How much research have you done that you personally done? Have you ever got a grant? So, by education stances, I am a biologist. I do have a degree in biology with a minor in Spanish. By experiential academia, that is something that I definitely am always imploring myself to get into clinical research. So that's actually the next step, is to start clinical research certifications and getting a job where I could have my own labs, run my own test trials, and have my own people that I study.
Oh, so you about to get Bally, and Riley. All right. So 2 things that really made me, let me back up. So one thing that made me really lock into Nipsey Hussle wasn't necessarily his music at first, but I watched the Sway in the Morning interview with him, and he had a medallion on that was Malcolm X. And I was like, wow, because typically when you see Us with Jury on, it's a big ass Jesus piece or a cross or something like this. But from a distance, it looked like the Malcolm X, the photo where he's grabbing his face. And I was like, I know Nipsey, this Crip gangbanger dude from LA, don't have Malcolm X on. And come to find out he was. And so whenever I see one of us that sort of represents the ancestors, like the legit, like the ancestors that really put pedal to the metal, I'm always like, wow, like how did that start for you, for each individual? Because for everybody, it's a different aha moment. And so I often, when I see your show, you always keep the Dr. Francis Cress Welsingr photo and the Malcolm X photo, which those two are two of some of my favorite ancestors in history. So when did you come across those two ancestors and were like, I'm rocking with them, instead of being afraid of them like a lot of us are?
Right. So thank you. Like, I love this question. And I didn't express it before, but I just want to thank you so much for having me on your show. I love your podcast as well. And I appreciate you even for setting this up. Like, I really do. And I appreciate your work.
Thank you.
So, Yeah, so for Malcolm X, it was interesting. Growing up, I say on my show sometimes that my dad was my very own version of Malcolm X.
Mm-hmm.
They had similar complexions. They were both tall. They talked about the man. My
Mm-hmm.
dad went to the Million Man March, the original Million Man March. And there's even a photo that's floating around my family, and it has me and my dad and my sister all in a picture, and I'm kind of like sleep on my dad, and he has the X hat on.
Mm-hmm.
So growing up, he also took me to the Shrine of the Black Madonna, and this was actually his picture. And I remember
Mm-hmm.
one day, maybe like 4 or 5 years ago, I just finally just mustered up enough courage and said, "Daddy, can I have that picture?" And he said, "Yeah, you want it?" And I said, "Yeah." He was like, "Yeah, you can for sure have it." And this picture actually hung in our house.
Mm-hmm.
So Malcolm X from as long as I can remember was always kind of like the black figure that our household follow. You know, you got your households that follow Martin Luther King, and then you got your
Mm-hmm.
households that follow Malcolm X.
Yeah.
My household was definitely one that followed Malcolm X.
Mm-hmm.
And definitely with the for a long time I even thought it was a bit extreme, and my dad was a little crazy. I was one of those children who strayed off and was just like the great black girl who every white person absolutely loved. I had a wrap, I had straight hair, and then when I finally came to the realization, it was like, it's true. It's true. It's true.
You know, the best
I
teacher in life is
understand.
life. So go ahead. Don't listen to me. Go ahead.
Right, right. So what ended up happening was, like I said, while I was in college, I was going through a rough patch with school. I had lost my tuition, and I was just like in and out of school. And while I was out of school, I was doing a lot of studying. I was studying religion, looking for the black people in the Bible. I was studying um, a lot of the ancestors, Dr. Yosef Ben Yakanan. I found out who Dr. John Henrik Clark was. I had heard about the destruction of Black civilization. And I remember one of the first times I had watched Dr. Francis Cress Welsingr. What was interesting was being a biologist. I had been interested in biology ever since I was in middle school. So, as long as I can remember, I've taken pre AP classes. In high school, I did a medical program to go into biology. So, it's always been something I was just good at.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember in college doing these Punnett squares over and over, learning about genetics, dominant traits, recessive traits, what they call Mendelian genetics. Gregor Mendel would be the father of genetics, as they would say in European institutions.
Mm-hmm.
And one day I watched Dr. Francis Cress Wilson's video, and she talked about the Punnett square, and she broke it down in genetic dominancy and explained how it was the fear of genetic annihilation.
Mm-hmm.
And you could imagine, I had like, if I could picture it and explain it, it was like a That's So Raven moment. Like, you know, and That's So Raven, when like she just stares off in the wilderness, and like she sees all of this stuff happening.
Yeah.
That was exactly how it was for me. So I probably, in a matter of maybe like 5 minutes, just thought about sixth grade, seventh grade, eighth grade, all of the labs we had went through. Like we were just talking about previously before the show, how I had noticed the difference between the melanated or black species or dog or cat or rabbit, mouse, bird versus the albino dog, bird, even giraffe. You have albino snakes, you have albino, just anything that doesn't have pigment. So if you look at a flower, and a flower isn't supposed to be white, just imagine looking at plants and the plant is no longer green, it's yellow. That yellow color being ripped of all of its chlorophyll or its strength, it then like just all dawned on me. I was just like, oh my God. Oh my God. Everything makes sense now. Like, you know, the Christianity makes sense. The me never finding black people makes sense. Like even in my biology classes, I remember learning about the Renaissance and, you know, all of this time where Europeans were doing some major learning, and, you know, they were exploring around the world, and you just never see black people in the classes and in the courses. So as I started to learn more, you know, Dr. Francis Cress Welsingr obviously opened me to Neely Fuller, and those two were two individuals. And Neely Neely Fuller definitely has more of kind of like the personality style that I like. He's straight to the point.
Yeah.
This is what he is. And I like that.
I couldn't imagine Neely being like my grandfather, uncle, or something, because he gonna whoop your ass and tell you at the same time.
Neely Fuller Jr. reminds me of someone like who would be my grandfather, like the father of my father.
Yeah. So you just mentioned the void in Christianity. So are you a part of any organized religion?
No, not currently. You know, I was reflecting on that. It's interesting. Now, some people may call me a fraud because I do listen to gospel music. It still moves me. I still cry. I like.
You better stop listening to that.
When you put it on, my hands go up.
As long as you don't start, yes, shake head, they base, say they bo ho ho. Like, I would be lying if I said there was not, and let me be honest, like, I have a series called Falling from the Cross, and so many people really, really identified with the series, and it's because I was basically journaling through my experience of falling from Christianity and denouncing Jesus Christ as my Lord and Savior. And that's just kind of like one of the... Yeah.
Exactly. That's like one of the biggest no-nos in the Black community. You don't believe in Jesus?
Right, they could be about ready to rob a bank, and they be like, "Hey, let's pray before we rob this bank." I don't do all that. You don't fuck with Jesus, nigga. You don't do that. We can't rob this bank with you then. You about to block our blessing. You know, I had a conversation with my mother the other day, and I was talking about when I finally came to the conclusion, just based off of the research. When you step away, it's a reason why religion is up under mythology and not history. Like, there's history of mythology, but history and mythology are two separate things. And so once you start studying history, you'd be like, let me out. I'm about to get out right now. And then what's weird, I would say ironic, but it's really weird, is that when you start telling people history, like historical facts, they tell you lying. And then you be like, well, why don't you go look it up? No, because you're lying. What?
Right,
That's
right.
not how lies work. If I was lying, I'd be like, don't look it up. Right.
Whatever is going to distort their reality, and more than anything, distort their route to heaven. No. Essentially, quote. I don't know how you feel about the N word. How do you feel about the N word?
I try not to say it, but sometimes it slips out.
Well, okay, I get it. You know, like, in so many ways, Black people feel like we live in hell, so we're not about to die and go to hell. So whatever I have to do to secure my ticket on the bus, that's what I'm going to do. So people like ourselves that come to Black people and try to take away their golden ticket and the only chance for peace are really seen as like, we're seen as like the Judas. Ain't that crazy?
Like we are the devils. And I kind of get it. I get it. Because you're born in it. You didn't ask to be born in oppression, repression, suppression, repression. You wasn't asked. And so it's like, while we here, we might as well enjoy it. So have you ever watched The Matrix, like the full series? So you
not the full series. At the time that The Matrix came out, I could not appreciate it. That Neith was the rap Neith.
Listen, when I tell you, go back and watch all of them, and you're gonna have, it's gonna be like a repetitive aha. There was a scene, and I forget which one this was. It might have been the last one when I'm gonna tell this part. Since you haven't seen it, I don't want to tell the whole thing. But there was a part when one of Neo's comrades sold him out. He was the Judas. But here's the kicker. He knew that the Matrix wasn't real. But he was, I guess, tired of fighting, tired of running. He's like, listen, I'm going to sabotage all this just so I can have a steak. I know this steak ain't real, but all this is, I'm tired of this. So let me get this steak and y'all come tear up some stuff. Um,
Mm-mm-mm.
and that was another aha moment. Have you ever saw the spook that sat by the door?
Yes, actually, read half the book. So
I haven't
that
read the
was,
book yet.
yeah, that was one of those things. I actually had a black professor. I was thinking about pledging a certain sorority. I won't say it just in case, I slip back.
That gospel music gonna pull you back. Never would have made it. You know what? Hey, can I sign up for that?
You know what? As a matter of fact, on second thought, no, I always felt like I would get an honorary member into a sorority, but like they was gonna Michelle Obama me.
Not with what you talking about.
Nah, they gonna throw out my application on second thought. Nah, she don't even want to wear her pearls. So, no, I remember one time I was really contemplating joining a sorority, and at the time, when you trying to join these organizations, they got all these secrecies. You gotta go over these hoops and contact this person and get to know them, and then contact this person and build a rapport with them. And I remember it was a certain professor who was an Omega on the campus who gave me this book. And he was like, I want you to read this. He gave me a couple of books, but he was like, I really want you to read this. Because when they can see the fire, when people can really see the fire in you, the spook is one of the first books I feel like they give you to say you could be this rather than the fire, and it's cool because I feel like there's a lane for everyone. You need your spooks, and then you need your people that are also more vocal. Like you need both of them.
Yeah. So to break away from this a little bit, so I watched one of your videos and you was talking about polygamy, and you broke it down. You was like, y'all not really about poly. Y'all just ain't got no discipline and no, so. And for me, I've seen how that lifestyle works when it's done right. I don't know how people do it because it's hard dealing with one woman consistently, then to bring in multiple. But break down for the audience when it's done right, and then go into the lack of discipline that a lot of us have.
Okay. When it's done correctly, when it's done right, then you have the first thing is unselfish people. You have either a man and multiple women, maybe 2 or 3 women, or maybe 2 women, or you have a woman, maybe 2 men, maybe 3 men that are in so many ways what we would term unselfish, meaning they don't place boundaries or a label or entitlement over one person and say, I want you all mine and all to me and only I can have you. The type of people that are oftentimes in this infrastructure are individuals, if I could be honest, that need something from one another.
Mm-hmm.
So in some regards, maybe it's a woman who doesn't have lots of income, or it might be a woman who doesn't have a home, but what she does offer is the ability to procreate, the ability to take care of an environment, the ability to perhaps look after other children that another woman who birthed them may not have time to look after. And then there's a man who basically provides the area for all of them. The next thing is, not only are these people unselfish, but these people, someone has to have wealth, mm-hmm. resources. Someone has to have enough resources to fund the actual mini organization that you about to have. Like mm-hmm. Essentially somebody gonna have a Costco, Sam's Club, because y'all buying in bulk. Right. Someone is going to have a great deal of income in order to provide a comfortable niche, because what can't happen in this environment is it can't be any emotional imbalance due to economic income not flourishing. Mm-hmm. It has to be an environment where things are a place to stay. So for example, perhaps a man is about to die off and he doesn't have what we would call an heir. and he wants someone to have a child with. You have a woman who's in an environment where she might be not, she doesn't have any candidates, or she might too want to have some type of heir. So at this point, I can take on this. You might even have a brother that's homeless, a brother that has no income, but what he does do is he's a handyman. What he is he's able to do a lot of work around the house. And then you might just have another individual who plays another part. It can work on both it can work on both sides. But this group is unselfish, and more than anything, if and when children come into the scenario, into the picture, the village takes care of the children. The children are of the utmost priority. So when this is done right, there's like I said, it's low emotion with the unselfishness. There's a lot of communal thought. There's a lot of compromise. There may be to a degree. It might be someone receives less on days that someone receives more. And there has to be an understanding about that. And then there has to be an acceptance that the outside pressure of the world, especially if you're going to do something like this in the 21st century, is going to be there. Yeah. And that's going to be there with your peers, with your parents. And more than anything, when you bring the children and you take those children to school, it is going to be a recurring question. Why you got two daddies? Like, why you get dropped off by somebody different every day? Like,
leave me alone.
Why you had two mamas sitting with muffins at mom?
And so it would take so this one particular school, the classes was 45 minutes long, and we had like eight classes. The teachers couldn't get the whole class settled down until 30 minutes into the class. So now they got to try to cram everything in with those last 15 minutes and do homework. And I was like, yeah, I'm not about to do this. But there was nothing, there was no type of parameter set to keep this intact to where the students will learn. Plus, you don't know what's going on in these kids' homes. In addition to the processed foods that they feed the babies, that's like giving the babies crack and Red Bull at the same time. So it's not set for the kids to win. And that's why, especially when I learned about the school to prison pipeline, I was like, aha, it wasn't designed to work for everybody. You know, it's going to filter some people out. And we just happen to be a lot of those people.
You hitting on so many nails right now. I'm just floored. The school system, man, you hit a major nail right there. The prison to school pipeline, major nail. Even with, everything that we have going on right now, like with COVID and the online classes, what's so interesting is I like legitimately was just talking about this. I worked in a prison for 5 years. That's essentially how I graduated from college. I worked in a prison, saved up my money, paid the tuition, and then was able to walk. Well, working in education, I could literally put a diagram of a prison and a diagram of a high school and show you the parallels of each one and draw what a classroom is what a day room is in prison. Just like you got your students that's always trying to get over on you, trying to lead a class and, go link up with their friends or maybe leave the class to skip. Sometimes you got to tell them no, or you got to put a timer so they can come back. Well, you have what would be called offenders, convicts, men or women in prison. They like to leave the day room and go up to the different rows to talk to their friends who not in the day room. So it's just like skipping the day room. You have chow. Chow is lunchtime. You have rec. Rec is recess or your PE or your physical exercise. You have teachers. Your teachers are your COs. You have rank. Your rank are your APs. And then you have the APs who are totally afraid to reprimand the students or the offenders because they have the Board of Education always hovering over them, telling them, no. We don't want to bother the parents. Let the parents know. I got a phone call from a parent. I could literally, just name different occasions where you didn't give an offender or a student something because they were being disrespectful or they missed out on their opportunity to go somewhere. So they make a phone call to their parent, to their mama. They mama call up to the school or to the prison. I want to speak to the warden because my son's saying that y'all refuse him food because he didn't. It's the very same parallel system. It's scary. It's scary.
Speaking of school, and I have these same conversations with my Caucasian coworkers and associates and friends. They've been equally as miseducated as we have been. I haven't spoke to any of my white friends, associates, coworkers that knew that they were the first slaves in this country. Right. So I always point them to this book called White Cargo. Let me see. I often forget who the author is. The author is.
Let me write this down.
Michael Walsh and Don Jordan. Michael Walsh and Don Jordan. And they break down how slavery started. But the education system will not tell you anything like that. Like I even know black people that say that Black History Month is racist, and based off their perspective, I'm befuddled. But when I look at it via my perspective, the reason why Black History Month is racist is because the black people that teach the kids, they don't teach black history. They teach the history that makes white institutions comfortable. You know, out of all of Martin Luther King's speeches, the majority of us only know I Have a Dream. We don't know the speech that he did about the Homestead Act. We don't know the speech about My Black is Beautiful. We don't even know that he understood that integration was the worst thing to happen to us. Martin Luther King said, I fear I have integrated my people into a burning building. And nobody knows that he says that. I know people that are older than me that don't know who Nat Turner is. I know people who are older than me that don't know who Billie Holiday is. But we sit in school and we do this 28 days of Black History Month and we only know Martin Luther King's I Have a Dream and integration speech. We don't know that the white people were the first slaves in this country. Like, it's crazy how the education system has become, but how it is. And yet I know you know this phrase, one of Malcolm X's quotes that he said, only a fool would send his children to be taught by his enemy.
Only a fool.
And you have all these mega churches. You have all these billionaire black folks. You have all these millionaire celebrities. Yet we don't even have a solidified school. Like, you can say the LeBron James school, but that's a charter school. That's not his school.
Right.
Like, we don't have any of that. And then when you do have it, you're being corralled into some religious mythology type mindset. So you're getting out of the public school system, but you're still being intellectually and mentally enslaved. Not to say that there aren't any brilliant brothers and sisters that are in there, because there are, but they're being pulled away from the meat of the freedom. That was the whole reason why it was illegal for us to even read in the first place.
Right. Yeah, it's one of those things where at the schools, with the miseducation, like we sometimes say, the miseducation system, I'm to the point where, and it's kind of difficult to say this or to buy black people in on this, but I'm to the point of, how do I explain better with every single video to black people that what we're doing currently? Have you ever heard the expression that insanity is doing the same thing, expecting different results?
Yeah.
So how do I convince black people and get better at every video with helping them understand that what we're currently doing is the problem? Our current existence and how we're living is the problem.
Yeah.
Therefore, it would be totally insane for us to think anything that we do remaining unchanged would bring about change. Voting, Christianity, religion, the schools, the miseducation, that is the problem. So, how to convince and how to get Black people to understand that even the school that you send in your child to, you pay extra money to send your child to a private school just for even more of their Blackness to be bleached and ripped from them than even if they had public school. So yeah, they gain on the academic side and they learn far more than maybe their public school peers, but then it's at the expense of their Blackness. It's just kind of like, and neither of them teach them their history. As far as white folks, they're learning a lot too. You have a lot of white people who also really believe in their core hearts that they are genetically superior. And it like, even if you look at the science, that is just not true. And that's not me saying it hurtful. That's not me saying it to incite anyone. That's not even me saying it to hurt someone's feelings. That's just me saying it's not true. Like, you believe in this in your mind, but it's not true. So after a while, it comes, I rationalize that the reality, sometimes the reality of how things are is just way too painful to accept, that you have to create an entire lie around you in order to be able to sustain yourself. The same way Black people are living in cognitive dissonance and finding a way to manage in our chaos, so are white people. They are just as sick, if not more sick, like mentally. You like literally probably even functioning as psychopaths out of the fear of going extinct, out of the fear of, being attacked by Black people, having no idea that Black people don't even want to attack them, even after everything that we've experienced.
We just want to be free.
Exactly. But it's the fear. Like, after a while, someone who has this much anxiety around the possibility of something that is not even going to happen, not in a lifetime at least, after a while you just ask yourself, you have to be functioning as someone outside of your reality. You too have to believe a lie. So yes, that Black man George Floyd did have a criminal record. He was wrong. You get it?
Yeah, let them tell it. He deserved to die because whatever reason, he deserved to sit there and get suffocated and but I know Black people that say the same thing. It's weird. So switching gears a little bit. So I watched the Judas and Messiah breakdown. Mm-hmm. And so it's a theme for any time that you see one of our great intellects step forward and start disseminating information that's purposely hidden or shines the light on certain components of the system. It's somebody within their circle is used to destroy them. And so, and I've been thinking about this, and I've just come to the conclusion that it's hard to focus on this institution of racism when you have people within your circle that want to keep it going. So it's like we have to deal with us and what we're doing to us. Because there was a psychologist that I was listening to, and he broke down oppression. He was like, well, in our current state, he said oppression, when you put people through oppression and then you put suppression on top of that, the next phase is repression, which is where they do it to themselves. That's the stage that we've been at ever since I can remember. We like you look at the music, and I always go back to the music because you remember the story of the Pied Piper when he led the mice out the city. Mm-hmm. So I look at that story, and then I look at the first thing that was made illegal during slavery was the drums. Because of the vibration, because of what in your genetics, what is awaking with certain vibrations, with certain melodies and tones. Mm-hmm. And so when you look at in the 90s, it was like the early going into the mid 90s when you had the conscious hip hop. When the Rodney King verdict hit and LA erupted, the number one song was Public Enemy's Fight the Power. Yep. Now Rodney King just got beat up. Now that's not to say that to belittle his behind whooping, because that was, they whooped that brother. But the whole country erupted. You got kids being taken out by civil servants on Facebook, and nothing's happening. There's no desire to unify. And I'm not talking about even just physical retaliation. I'm talking about to start to looking at your environment and be like, you know what? Maybe I shouldn't keep buying Gucci. Maybe I shouldn't keep buying H&M. Maybe I should just invest in us. Maybe I should start a business. But no, when you turn on the radio, and this is what's crazy to me. When I get in my car sometimes, the radio will automatically start and I have to turn it off. Because if it's one of the hip hop and R&B channels, it's the same poison that's just spewing into the minds. It's just, you just got a water hose that's just pouring it onto the minds of the people. And you have parents that are getting paid to play it, and they're okay with it. And I'm like, that's messing with the mind. And they be like, it's only entertainment. And I say, you right. Enter to go inside. Tame to control. Mint means mind. What is entertainment? Mind control. What is television programming? It programs. What is it programming? Your thoughts, your brains. I was watching this one video, and it broke down the purpose for television. Because, before television, it was radio. And I'm willing to bet the radio actually was good for the family unit, because everybody came together and sat around the radio and was a family unit.
Right, listen to it.
Yeah. So television was created to keep people in a seat long enough so they can be sold to. So they can buy some. This is why commercials are so important. They just, hey, buy this, buy this, buy this. And, this country, we're, especially us, we are like the number one consumers. We spend $2.5 trillion annually. That means we are a nation within a nation, and we are the 7th largest nation as Black people, as African people in this country. And we are paying for our own oppression. We're paying for it. When you got people killing each other over Jordans, it costs Nike $5 to make the Michael Jordan sneakers. But yet Nike gonna sell it for $200, and then sneakerheads gonna sell it for about $1,000, and then somebody gonna get their head blown off for materials. So it's like when we are in a state of chaos like that, it's like, okay, let's regroup. We can't even go out on the playing field right now. We're not ready.
Right.
Some of y'all got to take your jerseys off. So, in your mind, how do you think we can offset that or even deal with that going forward?
Well, I'm glad you brought this up, because this is actually what I wanted to talk about with the polygamy and, the polygyny. When it comes down to Black people, you have 2-parent households that raise insufficient children.
Yep.
You have 2-parent households that left Black children broken.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure if you're familiar with Brother Ali York out here in Houston, the son of Dr. York. He talks about growing up in this environment and, having a father, having mothers, and his mother loving him, and, knowing that he was loved, however, never having enough. And that's something that's real. Oftentimes we have to share our parents with their employment places. Yeah. You don't get all of your mom, you don't get all of your dad, because they have to work extra hours to be able to provide. So when you're looking at Black people who are mentally sick, who are struggling with all sorts of symptoms of PTSD, and that is post-traumatic slave disorder, and also complex PTSD in a psychological sense. When you have double PTSD going on, and then you try to make more room for more chaos, it's just kind of like, that's why I say you don't have any dick discipline, or you don't have any yoni discipline. Or if you rather just have multiple partners, say that, and don't hide it under the guise of polygamy. Because if we look at Black people right now, truly mentally sick individuals that don't even understand our behaviors, why we spend so much money, why, impulsive buying, impulsive spending, what gambling is for the mind. You know, these are all mental things that set off adrenaline and are all kind of like drugs. The obesity in the Black community. There was a study that came out that connected obesity to the Black church. Well, if you look at the Black church, it's also connected to Black sorrow. I'm sorrowful.
That's why I said you gotta leave that gospel alone, Neith.
well, not just that. Even let me get off of that.
Yeah.
But it's connected to Black alcoholism.
Yeah.
You know, substance abuse. It's all I want to fill the void with a behavior, a malnourished or a self-sabotage and a self-destructive behavior. And after a while, you just keep doing it. And like you saying, it's a repressive state at this point. You don't know why you do it. You don't know why you can't control the things. You don't know, like, you know, sometimes have you even seen a video of a Black person being attacked or being charged up or just experiencing racism, and on your side of the phone, you like, please don't get mad. Please don't get mad. Please don't get mad. But to not get mad is to repress an actual feeling.
I say,
and you know, by the time they do get mad, it's just like when they
Incredible Hulk in that man.
You're like, no.
Did you see where that brother kind of whooped that old dude in the gas station?
Exactly.
What you gonna do? Boop, boop, boop. Oh shit! Oh. Boop.
Exactly. And now, if you actually follow that Black man and follow his life experiences, this could be a brother who has a lot of great things going for himself. You know, had lots of aspirations, but moments like that, microaggressions like that, where unfortunately he will bear greater punishment than even his aggressor.
Yeah.
So after a while, it's just kind of like in my opinion, Black people have to ask ourselves, what are we willing to do to change our circumstances? What are we willing to do?
And like, you think polygamy would be one of the solutions?
I don't. I honestly think it probably would be one of the worst things. Because for victims of racism, sex and sexual gratification is another outlet. You know, that is another high euphoria experience. And you don't want to, you know, misconstrue your desire for that high for actual being able to nation build. They're not the same. Nation building requires being able to have healthy children on the outside that are the output. If you can't create healthy children now, then why would you put furthermore confusion, furthermore chaos? Black women, just think about our temperaments, our attitudes. Now you put two Black women, really, you put two authentic Black women in one house.
Yeah.
And then you put a Black man in that same house and you expect it not to be no issues. The concept is nice. Yeah, it is nice. My thing is, look, if you just want to have a threesome, have a threesome. Just had a threesome. Damn,
hey, listen, what you doing later on? I'm cooking. Tamika coming through. Hey, like, how do you even proposition that? I don't know. We had a long weekend. It's Friday.
Right. As a matter of fact, you deserve this. I need a break.
So, hypothetically, if racism ended today, how do you think we would be?
Ooh, without mental rehabilitation, horrible. Yeah. Because now, let me explain something that I've seen firsthand experience, and you probably can attest to this as well. When niggas get taller,
oh yeah, I've seen it. They listen. That is equivalent to when they get power. That's the equivalent to the slave driver. I know people, as soon as they get a job in corporate America and get a little company credit card and all that stuff, they see, you niggas ain't shit. See that? I'm like, but you just started. What are you talking about? And I was like, this ego grows, and yeah, you're right.
I think it would be horrible because now you don't have the supervision and the infrastructure of white folks to actually protect us from one another. Now it's just kind of like when, put it like this. Imagine when your parents left the house and now you left with your siblings and everybody trying to duke it out over who's in charge. No, I'm the eldest. No, I'm the tallest. No, I got this. Mama not here, daddy not here, so I deserve to be in charge. Everybody's calling their parents to try to figure out mama such and such won't let me watch TV. It would be total chaos because mentally we have not been unlearned and relearned. Like we haven't pulled the mental sickness out, which is truly, in my opinion, the biggest issue. And it's interesting that you say this because this is my dream. If I could have my Martin Luther King moment virtually.
Go ahead.
If I could have my virtual Martin Luther King moment.
Wish I had the little key instrumental to go behind it too.
Right. So shout out to Houston. But no, seriously, my dream would be to create a mental reconstructive template that no matter who the person is, they could even be non-Black, as long as they experience adverse negative effects that led to traumatic events, that led to degradation of communal abilities, create a blueprint that would be able to take that person, take them to a funnel or series of exercises, practices, whatever these things would be, so they could unlearn everything that has made them the individual that they are. Mm-hmm. And then from there, put in place what you need with also instilling the right character mentality. So when I say character mentality, what I mean is instilling the type of character in Black people that, one, makes us want to be communal, makes us want to be unified, that boosts a certain type of love and self-love, that when we see one another, it's by automatic default, kind of like when you think about the Asian community or the Hispanic community. You know, this is practiced in their community, and that's why it comes a lot more naturally than it comes from us. We have intentionally been taught to be disunified. We have been rewarded for being disunified. We have gotten paid for spying or leading to the death of one another. So, and as a matter of fact, in the Black community, there's an incentive to do the opposite. So if I could just say what my dream would be, it would be to legitimately come up with a plan, a real plan that you could build this unlearning process, relearning process, and you could put in the mental type of mindset that the Black person would need for everything to click. And now I would be giving this to Black folks, obviously, because I'm the Blackest Truth and I love my people. Hey. However, this could be a pamphlet that could be given to victims who might have went to war from, countries who might have always seen terrorism in their environments. And it could legitimately just heal people mentally. That would be my real dream.
So, do you go to therapy?
Not yet. Not person-to-person therapy. Virtual therapy, yes. If I could be transparent, I have a couple of people that I listen to on YouTube that are just like my faithful. I listen to these people every single day because they help me understand so much about the effects of trauma, adverse early experiences in life, cultural trauma, and how all of that could affect your behavior. So, for example, I watched one video by one of the doctors that I love named Dr. Ramani, and she has this video called Future Faking. And I remember when I watched the title, I'm like, future faking? Like, what's she talking about? And she explains how you have certain people who will sell you a concept, sell you a dream, essentially, of something happening to keep you on the hook. And essentially, these would be what would be called our flakers. The type of people that know they're not coming to the party, but they tell you they're gonna come to the party. The person that say they're gonna call you back, but they know you're not. They know that they're not calling back, but they say it because it gets them off the hook, and it could create a possible anticipation for the recipient to hold on to that. Well, what's interesting is you could have these people that come in a culture where Now black folks is what we say selling you a wolf ticket, talking
Mm-hmm.
about all of this stuff we never have intentions on changing. Making all these plans. We need to be more of a people like this. We need to do this, having these symbolistic protests and things that make it look like we truly want change, but ultimately no change comes about it. Now, after a while, you can think that the person is just lazy, they don't want any better. But after you understand trauma more, the person is lost in their own thoughts and so confused about how to get it done or how to execute or going to this place and not being up to par that they do nothing at all.
Mm-hmm.
So, the therapy that I'm definitely, like I said, seeking out right now is virtual online. I wrote down 2 books that one of the therapists advised to read on how to totally just heal from CPTSD, which
Spill
I
the
feel
beans.
like
Spill the beans. Spill the
Okay, look,
beans.
I have got to find a video. I got to look. Let me find my notes. Let me get out my notes.
Because
I'm over here.
while you look, I'm gonna tell this story. So
White cargo. I
There you-
got to get this off.
that so I what helped me start coping and or dealing with some of my trauma that I didn't even realize I had was I came across. Have you ever heard of Dr. Wayne Dyer?
Mm-mm.
So Dr. Wayne Dyer is a really cool dude, and he wrote this book called called Your Erroneous Zones, and so I didn't know that I had daddy issues. You unconsciously normalize trauma. And I remember I was with my girlfriend in college and we was watching Jason's Lyric. And have you ever seen Jason's Lyric? Okay.
Yes, I have.
So I'm watching Jason's Lyric and there was a scene with Mad Dog. Mad Dog was a military vet that just came home. He was an alcoholic and he had a shit ton of PTSD. And
Right.
that was my father. My father went to the Vietnam War. And when he came back, I didn't know him before he went, obviously, but because I was born after. But I remember having my daddy in my life up until maybe it was probably like 5 or 6 or something like that. And then they got a divorce and he was really not in my life no more. And so, but that was one of my heroes growing up. Your daddy's always going to be one of your heroes. And so anyway, I had never saw Jason's Lyric before. So we was watching Jason's Lyric. And there was a scene came on, and then you know how you sweep dirt under the rug and you be like, all right, it's clean. So I'm watching this scene, and then my emotions just started playing tug of war, and I was like, oh, you know, when we try not to cry, we take deep breaths thinking that's gonna resolve. And I'm sitting here watching. And I'm light skinned, so my nose started getting red, my ears started getting red, and she's looking at me, she's like, what's wrong? I was like, no, I'm good. And then, you know, you get that water welling up in your eyes, and I'm trying to fight it. I wasn't even talking at that point. I was like, no, I'm good. And I'm sitting there trying to fight it, and she was like, baby, what's wrong? I was like, ah! And I'm talking, the waterworks came, and then after that, I was like, damn, I didn't know that I had suppressed all that disappointment. And so, anyway, I came across Dr. Wayne Dyer's book, Finding Your Erroneous Zones. And that really helped me, and I thought I was healed. But so I'm working on a documentary. It's Now or Never. I had a series of Now or Never on my YouTube where I went, and when I was actively stand-up comedian, I would go to different cities and I would sort of do a little documentary style shoot, like vlogging type shoot. And so we over at my brother's house filming, and I got these questions that we going through, and I tried to ask, does he think Daddy would be proud of me because of all the things that I had done with my life? And I couldn't even say it. I was like, do you know, I sound like a Buick with a bad carburetor trying to start. And I was just crying, man. And I was like, I am 42 years old up here crying. My daddy's been dead since I was 16. And so I realized again, I was like, okay, your erroneous zones, it got me to a certain place. It got me out of a certain place of that PTSD, that trauma, because I grew up in Indianapolis, Indiana. It was once the headquarters of the Ku Klux Klan. And so, you know, walking up the street, you'll get, hey, nigger. Like, you'll get all type of traumatic racism things thrown your way, and you just tend to normalize it. And so all that just compacted on top of that, plus the trauma that's genetically transformed to you, or passed to you. My words is messing up. But I too want to go to therapy. I want to see a therapist, but I know that there are people that are counselors and therapists that just want to give you drugs, and I don't want nothing to do with them. And so, and there's those therapists that don't understand. They can't relate to the levels of trauma that we've experienced. And so they'll kind of just listening to other friends that go, like, their therapists will be kind of passive and be like, oh, it'll be okay. So I'm looking for a Pan-African therapist that we can be candid. We can talk about certain issues and sort of deal with that. So I can, when I do have children, I can, you know, kind of get them genes corrected. So, you know.
Right. Yeah. The two resources that I've reached out to is Open Pathway, openpathway.com. That is not Black owned. You do have Black Girl Therapy. And that's another platform. The only thing about Black Girl Therapy that I don't like is it doesn't show you the specialization of each therapist. I kind of know my issues, and I don't want to just be dealing with no general therapist. Right. I need to go to somebody who can bring me some results, you know? So I got a list of my issues, and could you help me out with this right here? And then there's another one, because my phone, you know, our phones are creeps and they spy on us, and my phone obviously sees that therapy is something I've been looking up right now. So there's this BetterHelp that's been coming up on my Instagram, a lot of sponsored ads, and I'm thinking about checking them out as well. The video that I was referring to, she mentions the books in here. It's called she's called The Crappy Childhood Fairy. It is a white woman, so, you know, be advised that this is somebody that I listen to, but at the same time, culturally, that is something I don't think she can definitely identify with, but she's good.
Yeah.
And the video is called CPTSD, If You Had Just 1 Year to Heal. I listened to this video maybe like 6 times today because it was so good. And she just talks about if she only had 1 year to heal from her CPTSD. And like you said, my father was that person. I love my dad to death. However, growing up, I always consider myself living like in an Ike and Tina environment. My mom is the very same complexion as Angela Bassett. My dad, like I said, Malcolm X complexion, Lawrence Fishburne. So growing up, I literally thought that those two people were my parents. And that's why I hate that movie to this day. So healing from that CPTSD and learning about so many what's called triggers or dysregulation and how you become dysregulated or how you isolate from people over time. It's so much that I'm learning right now. It is ridiculous. Like, you know, I'm so grateful. And, you know, I feel like 2020, 2021 kind of brought about everybody doing some deep inner work.
And if you didn't, where was you at? What was happening? Because listen, 2020, I got to work because all these extra distractions got out the way. He's like, you know what, Jamil, you crazy. You know that, right? But not the crazy that everybody tell you crazy. But yeah, it's when you start peeling back the lies and you start seeing the truth, you like, I be damn. And then you try to tell your friends or your family members, they be like, you lying. It ain't how it is. You just tripping. You got it good. You graduated college. You live in Atlanta. You got it. That don't mean that you, man, LeBron James got
gaslighting.
Yeah. So what do you perceive? And I know we going over, but the conversation is just so dope. What do you perceive your legacy to be? What would you like your legacy to be?
Oh my gosh.
Well, hold on. Before I ask that question, there was a video where you talked about how, and this is going to kind of close up the counseling part, when you're saying that you don't want to always have to talk about racism, white supremacy, racism. You don't always want to talk about our struggles and stuff like that, because it is depressing, especially when you feel like you're just talking to a wall, but you have a sea of prisoners that you're trying to get them free. What does that look like? Because I started off as a stand-up comedian, then I went off into some music, acting, some filmmaking, and all that other stuff. I don't always want to be like, yeah, the man is da-da-da-da-da. And I'm like, but every time you try to be cool about it, bam, the man happens. You be like, God dang, can I get a year off?
Right. Could you just let up?
Yeah.
I would have nothing to talk about if you would just let up. That's a great question. I'll answer it in two-part fold. What do I want my legacy to be?
Mm-hmm.
For sure, I've thought about this. I played this in my mind, and I also accept that I don't have the ability to create the legacy that I want. How you go down in history, you don't have a choice of that.
Right.
So you just put your best foot forward, and you do as much work as you possibly can, and you just hope for great things. My legacy, for sure, I want to be known as someone genuinely and sincerely in love with Black people and devoted to the reconstructive turning of the tables. Like when you look at white history, and when you study people like Alexander the Great, when you study people like Leopold, when you study people like Hitler, we can talk all of the noise that we want about these folks and say that they are monsters, they are individuals that are horrible, but that's because we're on the losing team. If we were Europeans, if we were them, these are our heroes. These are the ones who had the tenacity or the courage to do big things and do big feats. So not necessarily having anything negative attached to it, like a Hitler or a Leopold, just being able to leave definitely imprints of when the tables turned for Black people. Who were these pioneers that were a part of the turning tables?
Yeah.
So it's one of the things where I want to be one of the qualified revolutionary leaders. I recognize that that's something that I feel like the ancestors and the universe controls. That's not even in my hands. I just also, when I be talking to them, it's like, why y'all give me all this passion if I can't do nothing? Well, what I'm here for then? Why y'all send me here? I could have been big chilling in the stands in the ancestral realm if you're gonna send me down here with all this bullshit.
Yeah. I often just sit and wonder, like, why are we here? Like, what's the purpose of life? If we keep reproducing and we keep going through the same stuff over and over, even though, are you familiar with Anthony T. Browder?
Mm-hmm.
So did you see the interview he did on the David Banner podcast when he unrolled the timeline?
Yes.
He breaks it down how this 400, 500 years is just a microcosm in the history of our existence. And so often when I get quiet, I just sit and I daydream about the stories that I've read about the days where we didn't have to worry about none of that. You wasn't about to do none of that to us. We was on top of the food chain. Not that we was out here kicking ass and taking names like that. I mean, it was a more harmonious society in those. And I just like, man, I wonder how that felt like. I wonder what that smells like. Right.
I love that because I do the same thing. I daydream kind of, and it's even with you being an executive producer. I think that's why I love being a creative, right? Mm-hmm. Being able to put together movies and be able to put together shows and commercials because, it's really unlimited, the abilities that we have and what we can create. Just like we're talking right now. From there, it's just a matter of casting the right roles, doing the right things, like putting the type of imagery out. But you talking about that imagination stage or having those reflections of, sometimes I think, what if I'm just going back to my past life?
Yes.
And I'm just, remembering how it was to walk through the hallways of Kemet and feel the sun on the right side of my skin that was exposed through the columns, and then on the side looking at the reliefs. What if I'm just going back and I'm through those genetics, just experiencing an ancestral thing, But more than anything, I try to spend more time personally in the future of what I want that to feel like and what I want it to look like for Black people.
Mm-hmm.
Because our future is the most important thing. And, you know, I know exactly that podcast that you're talking about with Anthony Browder and David Banner. And with us having that image now, 200 years shouldn't look as much as it does to us. Like when I talk about being able to think about the next 200 years for Black people, you got Black folks that think, girl, what?
Yeah.
You trying to plan the next 200 years for us?
Yeah.
Black people don't even really have a plan for the next 5 years. So that to tack another 195 on that seems like astronomical. But if you look in the history, like in a sense of real history, a year is but a crumb. It is nothing. What is 365 days? It goes like that, you know? So that's something I love that you talk about. This was dope. This is an awesome podcast.
Thank you. So before we get out of here, are you a voiceover for a cartoon? I saw that and it wasn't a lot of information. I was like, I know she ain't no voiceover and ain't putting that out there. So tell us about that.
Okay, so that's something new that is in the works right now. I am getting an opportunity to play a villain goddess. Yeah.
Yo, that's big.
I'm really excited about that. So that's a brother out here in Houston named You Can't Draw Johnny. Johnny is what his name is, but You Can't Draw Johnny is kind of like his business. And he's a sketch artist. He designs animations, and he came up with us speaking about mental trauma. He came up with his own version of dating a Black woman who was beautiful, who is gorgeous, who on paper is just everything that he's looking for, but she has her ulterior motives. She does a lot of gaslighting. She manipulates him in a way. She uses her looks and her prowess to get what she wants out of him. And essentially she rides the wave until she gets to where she wants and she leaves. And he has this where it's going from like real life people form, what you would call like, I guess just flesh form. And then it's animation versions. And the animations are when we are like in our goddesses and our guides. And then the real life is when we're just the people dressed in clothes. That's what that's going. And I'm going to be the woman that is going to seduce him and, have all these ulterior motives.
That's dope. So how do you find your tribe? Like, because once you become enlightened, conscious, all your friends at that point in time, they run, they go, they be like, pew. I mean, you'll have like the core ones, they'll stick around, but the new ones, they be like, nah, we out of here. We want to do this. And so I remember I posted on Facebook, and I've been in Atlanta for 15 years, and I was like, yo, where does the enlightened people hang out? And then people that didn't really know the terminology, they was like, oh, go to Little 5 Points. I'm like, stop it. That's not where. Stop it. So how do you have a tribe, a core group of people that you can talk this to, and then they can reciprocate? Y'all be like, yeah, and do.
Okay, in so many ways, yes and no. Yes and no. What you'll find is, again, because Black people do have these egos, and you'll find this a lot within the enlightened conscious community. It's to the point where this is what I run into a lot, and I'm not sure about you, but when people meet me in real life, I just want to be me.
Just you, yeah.
Like, just me. Like, I don't want to have to be put on a spot, and now you asking all of these questions that you have. Like, I'm a real person. I'm chilling.
Trying to drink this margarita. Relax. Have a seat, sir.
Right. Like, can we just be?
Yeah.
Well, one thing that I noticed, and it wasn't everyone, but more people than I cared for would meet me, or anytime we would come around each other, especially like in Houston. And it's just kind of like, now we just want to quote unquote build.
Yeah.
And it's not genuine, authentic friendship. So you'll find, or I found, that at first it did look like I had a tribe. At first I did feel like I had my core group, but after time, I feel like the issues that each person did kind of experience, or whatever type of thing that made them the outcast or the scapegoat, it started to show itself. And even we couldn't really just sustain like a really, really close relationship. So I found that the people that I'm close with, like, are my friends from before enlightenment, who remembered me from when my hair was straight, who remembered me from, who still say to this day, girl, you remember when you was Christian? Like, they say things like that to me, like, girl, you remember when you got that cross on your back, we all went to the tattoo shop and you begged that man for it? I still have those friends, and I'm grateful because they love me enough to accept that the change.
Yeah.
That people change, they grow, they evolve, and they haven't required me to stay the same. Yeah. And they've accepted, this person today in 2021, just like in another year, I'm not going to be the same person. I'm grateful to have friends like that. And to be honest, my dad, like, I can call this dude can call me and be like, let me tell you what these folks doing down on my job.
Well, they trust you. They see the elevation and the evolution in you. Even though maybe they not be, and I'm not talking about your daddy, but I'm saying maybe they not really ready to go there, but they see it. Mm-hmm. And they know you're not no quack. They know you're not crazy. They just know that you in a swimming pool that they not ready to suit up for.
Right. But that could be really hard for people that are coming into enlightenment, not having a tribe or feeling isolated, feeling alone, especially for, people who already do have some level of alienation, isolation issues. That could be very, very difficult. So in times where you might feel like you don't have a tribe, where something that I've been encouraging myself to do is, because I want to get a lot more involved with more grassroots organizations after COVID, because the one that I was in, it actually disintegrated. And you'll find a lot of this within the RBG Pan-Africanist community. You'll have these organizations that'll pop up for a while, but they'll disintegrate.
Yeah.
So one thing that I've been intentional to figure out is, whatever the organization I'm going to join next, I want to ensure that it's one that has been long-standing. If it's the Shrine of the Black Madonna, it has years that has been up and running. It has a board. It has a official running website. It has maybe a constitution. It has bylaws. So that is something I'm passionate about. What organization do I feel like speaks my language and that I could also excel in? And if you know any organizations that you feel like that you follow or are doing some great things, please let me know, because I'm definitely wanting to join someone.
We'll talk about that when we get off of live. Well, tell the people what they can expect from you in the coming the near future.
Yes, you all can expect. I have a really, really good series that I've been working on. I won't disclose the name. I have a really, really good series that I've been working on. Obviously, Lovecraft Country is something that's out right now. I always do a lot of TV shows, TV show dissections. Videos are always going to be coming. Every Tuesday, we're going to go live, and every week we're going to put out content. Y'all can follow me at The Blackest Truth on YouTube, The Blackest Truth on Facebook, at The Blackest Truth _ on Instagram. But more than anything, I feel what's really coming to my channel is more of a mental aspect, or more of a mental diving into what we are experiencing as Black people and how to have more corrective behavior. With this therapy that we're talking about with 2020, that's the direction that the brand is really going in, because I feel like that's where the most healing is. And The Blackest Truth, the ultimate goal of my channel, of my podcast, of my show, of anything that I touch, is how can this something heal Black people? So that's always the direction. How can we get more closer to getting us where we need to be? So I'm excited for the future.
Dope. Well, that has been the Audacity. We interviewed the goddess Neith Knight, aka The Blackest Truth. I want to thank you for coming on the show, and maybe I can bring you onto my morning show one day, and we can get a little shorter segment and rock out. Okay. Shout out to my co-host. She chimed in earlier. She said, peace. Kiana Quarles was ham, baby. She spent some time in Houston too. But that has been the Audacity. I want to thank each and every one of you guys for tuning in and sitting tight. I hope you learned something. I hope you got something in your spirit that you can grow with. And make sure that you follow the Blackest Truth on all the platforms, because you will be satisfied. You won't be disappointed. And that is our time. Thank y'all, and y'all have a good night.
The Audacity. Have the audacity.